Hi everyone, I am Pratik. How are you? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are joining from. I'm a founder at Webzoli and Testlify, and I want to first ask you this: where are you guys joining from? Because it's important for me to know and chat with you after this conversation. I'll actually reply to each and every comments that I get. So feel free to put down in the chat where you guys joining from. If you don't know, I'm based out of Tel Aviv, Israel, and I have a very special guest joining me today, Benjamin Marsili. And our topic today is to ensure effective talent assessment strategy and make sure your next hire is the right fit. So, Benjamin is founder of Whire, a recruitment tech startup. He has spent last few years close to HR and technology expert. He strongly believes in HR teams can do much more than executing administrative tasks. Human relations are at heart of every business. Therefore, modernizing HR by implementing platforms and tools to proactively unleash the togetherness of an organization and yield impressive results in terms of efficiency, impact, and happiness. Again, thank you so much for joining, Benjamin. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show today.
My pleasure, Pratik. Thanks for the invitation and hi everyone. Just a few words. I'm joining myself from Netherlands. I'm in Haarlem. If some of you know or are nearby, please shout out and I'll be happy to connect after the event as
Mm,
well.
just for your information, Netherlands is very close to my heart. I love this country, people, the vibes. Although I visited once, but I want to go. Like if you tell me go today, I will fly. That's how cool and beautiful country is. So please let us know in the comments where you guys joining from. We will take some questions during the conversation. So if you have anything that you want to ask Benjamin or myself, you can put down in the chat, and we will take your questions along the way. Hi Ritu. Hi Natalie. Natalie is joining us from Israel. Ritu is joining us from Delhi. Hi Vikas from India, Delhi. Luz from Ohio, USA. Hi, Shambal Mulakan Vikas. Thank you for joining us, guys. Much appreciated. Now, before we dive in, our listeners would love to know how you got from there to here. Okay, I mean, like, inspire us with your backstory and share what is behind your entrepreneurship, why you're passionate about building Wire. We would love to learn more about your personal side.
Thanks. And I think the key question is how does someone that's not from HR kind of comes in and thinks about an HR problem and tries to solve it? And this is really like about entrepreneurship. I think all of us, we have this drive when we work for other people that would like to make things more efficient. And that's really been something I've been always looking at the world and trying to make things more efficient. I've been hacking a lot of Arduino hardware for those of you who know what Arduino is. I've been creating two other platforms before Whire, and this is part of a learning journey as we go to learn about entrepreneurship, about building products that people want. But I think the big change for me was to experience one of the pain that many companies feel is basically when we try to hire people, and on both sides, we all recognize that the experience is kind of broken. We can hear and just I think I will encourage everyone to go to recruiting hell on Reddit. Please just have a look at all the bad experiences that they are. But it doesn't have to be so. And in terms of efficiencies and experience, I really wanted to add value here in this field. So yeah, I've done a couple of talks with my mentor Neil, who is very highly regarded in HR and wrote a book about HR as well, and has been building teams in Asia. And
Wow.
that brought me to basically trying to solve this problem that I solved with Wire. I'm sure I'm going to have opportunities to talk more about that.
Inspiring, and we want more Benjamin to create new startups and new ideas and solve a lot of problems that we have in the hiring process. So thank you for sharing your story, Benjamin. If you are joining in, like, would love to know where you guys joining from. If you can hit that share button, I would really appreciate that. And like, I'll personally message you to thank you for sharing that video. So please do that for us. Moving on with the topic, Benjamin. Tell us a little bit about your work at Whire. What is like something that you're trying to solve with Whire?
Hmm. Thanks, Pratik. So before going too deep into Wire, I think because we're all here with a lot of attendees who are really interested in the HR world, I think I wanted to redefine a little bit the word HR. To me, we're not human resources. It's about human relations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we hear a lot about fintech these days, and I think more importantly, right now, it's the field of HR tech. My
Mm-hmm.
vision is that of a modern workplace where the experience of humans, employees, candidates, hiring managers, and so on is at the center of everything. And we can
Mm-hmm.
see so many great solutions nowadays. I'll just mention a couple. We have Plum, which is a solution for mental health care, a service for
Mm-hmm.
employees. Donut to make sure people interact in a positive way. Juno to manage employee benefits. And there's so many great software, but it doesn't really have to start at the employee stage. We're also having to care about the candidate stage. So as early as
Absolutely.
possible, we have to have this. And I think where our mission sits in with Wire is to help companies at the beginning find those qualified talents quickly and scale job referral programs. We also try to make sure that we do that in a way that reduces as much as possible bias and enhances diversity in companies. But this is really like the core concept of Wire is to come as early as possible in the flow here and ensure the best experience for candidates.
This is cool. N. Arif, who's joining us from Bangladesh, he says he loved your line. HR is a human relation. You said it so great. I think I'm gonna quote you on LinkedIn for this. It's really an important aspect of how we treat our hiring process, and even though once the hire is done, how you treat your employees, how you treat them as like a relationship more than as in just as a resource. So very well said, Benjamin. Uh, what are the most urgent problems that needs to be addressed in the recruitment industry, and scale up challenges do companies face in their HR process?
Thanks. And I'd like to hear also from the audience if anyone knew about this. So, to me, the largest problem is something called the talent crunch.
Mm-hmm.
And this came, I think, in 2018 from a study from Corn Ferry called The Future of Work. So, they're talking about the impact in the next 10 years of the lack of basically talent on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And it's estimated that around $500 billion is going to be lost in what we call unrealized economic output. So that really puts HR and especially recruitment at the center of the conversation here, because we have to think about how are we going to retain employees, grow our team efficiently, sustainably. And
Mm-hmm.
by all this, I really mean to say that we have to be extremely competitive now in the way we manage the candidate employee experience. And how do you manage that? Only technology nowadays can help you manage such a complex process that involves so many people and stakeholders. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm looking at right now in terms of challenges for the recruitment industry and especially for scale ups.
Wow. This is a crucial topic that needs more of like discussion. If you have any questions around what Benjamin said, please put that in the chat. We'll take your questions along the way. How crucial is like hiring for when you like say scale up recruitment strategy? How does like Wire or any other AI platform or technology can help that?
I have a lot. I think I have a lot to say about AI. I mean, coming from tech, you would think that I would love AI, but I have have a certain problem with solutions that use AI to process humans because they have to be extremely careful in how they judge and they give insights about the humans that are basically data points. And I think we come from a world where there's something we call a data asymmetry between the company that kind of really knows what they want and the candidates that, we don't really know about them so much. And when we involve AI, we have to be extremely careful because we can start with data that's incomplete, outdated, inaccurate, and maybe just the AI algorithm itself would have a lot of flaws in it. So I won't name the startup. I heard about a startup in the US that did basically vetting of candidate profiles and CVs using AI. And they were basically comparing the keywords on the job ad and a data bank that they had to the candidate profiles. So if you were to use the wrong word and the wrong keyword in your CV, you'll just be ranked lower and you'll miss out on a lot of great potential employees. So I'm very, very careful about AI here in this world. I think if you ask me about how we can improve recruitment, we should look into AI, but we should be careful not to use it too early in the process.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, yesterday I was doing webinar with UL. We are not dealing with machines, we're dealing with humans. And although it can help us up to an extent, but again, we have to, like, have that personal touch in the hiring process. Now, Arif has a question: does this crunch may cause wrong hiring due to lack of talents?
That's a very interesting question. You might. That's actually one of the side effects. Yes, you will have. So imagine a world where there's two big side effects, I would say, on current operations. One, once you have not enough talents on the market, so competition will increase. That means a lot of things will happen. You'll have higher fees on job boards like LinkedIn. Most of you who probably have experience using LinkedIn, you will know that LinkedIn will tell you a price per day or a budget that you have to set for your ad, and they will
Yeah,
recommend a higher price. And the
yeah.
more people are actually looking to hire a certain role, the higher the price. So you can stand out. So we're fighting with our wallets now to be over there. So that's one thing. And the other thing is companies who don't have the budget to stand out will have only a choice to just go towards more junior hires, which could be beneficial to people who are early in their career, but not necessarily to some teams who are lacking senior talents. And the only answer so far is basically upskill, reskill as fast as possible. But the reality of it is that while this is happening, all companies will experience a talent crunch, and they have to do with more junior employees, but they also have to be extremely competitive so that they can attract the senior talents and get them.
Now, the easy apply button on LinkedIn is more it's kind of sometimes annoying to be on the recruitment side when you get a lot of CVs, especially you're hiring for a crucial position and you are limited with your time while you're hiring, and you get like 200 CVs. So the scale is good, like you're getting a lot of candidates, but at the end of the day, you are actually spending a lot of time in assessing those candidates or screening those candidates, which is like big pain. How do you see this process, or maybe how we can make these things better?
Well, Testlify is one way, but I'm sure this is something you know.
I did not mean to go in that direction, but
I wanted to because I feel this is, I'll get to that, but this is an ecosystem. We have to think about this. But I'll say the first thing you have to do is pre-screen those candidates. So we're talking about the keyword matching to the CV and the job ad. So you'll be looking at, does this person knows Python, C++? Are they located in this country or that country? And so you'll spend time doing this, and there's some pre-screening Q&A on LinkedIn that's already there, so that you can do this job in a certain way. Then you're still
yeah.
left with too many candidates to handle, and that's the thing. You have no choice than start using technology, but you have to choose the right tech, and you cannot using a job board. You cannot just ask like interns or dozens of staff to spend their time reviewing each profile. So then it really depends on what's your budget and what's the culture in your company. But if you want to achieve hiring excellence, to me, you need to start having the entire process managed, all the bookkeeping done through ATS and tools. And one of those tools that we integrate with Recruity, for example, or Greenhouse, Lever, those tools are amazing at basically mapping stages to actions. And so you'd be able to basically send all those profiles, all the hundreds of candidates to a certain tool. And I want to be extremely careful here because we always have to think also about the candidate experience. When you talked
Mm-hmm.
before about how does it feel as a recruiter to have to review these hundreds of applicants because they use Easy Apply, I would say Easy Apply is such a great thing for candidates because most of the candidates you want to hire, they're extremely busy. They don't have time to start a process of assessment that's really painful before they actually hear back from you and from your interests. So for candidates to actually submit to any, I would say, advanced screening or assessment, first you do need to acknowledge them in a certain way. So I think that's the key is there's a mix of human interactions and technology, and we have to be careful not to to swap the order and to go towards tech too early, especially for senior positions and people that usually are quite busy and experts and do get recruiters always, in their emails or in their inbox or reaching out to them.
Wow, this is really deep. If you understand what Benjamin said, uh, like, let's say easy apply button, sometimes it's pain for HR, but if you use the right tools to nurture those leads or candidates that come for applying to the position that is open for your company, let's say technology can send like automated emails for you, it can do screening for you. So candidate doesn't want to go into the screening process or assessment process before even having like one touch point or an interaction with your company. So it's very important, like you treat people as humans and not robots who are applying, and automatically the scale of hiring becomes more easier, and nurturing becomes even easier with AI or like platforms that Benjamin recommended. So there is like few things that I see on the screen. How was your experience been with employer of record? Have you Do you have anything here to say?
I'm not sure I really see the relevance for this question, Daniel. If you could elaborate maybe in the comments.
Yep.
Um,
So Daniel, we would love you to like put down your question a bit more in detail. Often in tech hiring, we can't gather 20 CVs for a position. At the moment, I feel need of employer branding to attract talents. Absolutely, employer branding is like huge topic. I did a webinar on employer branding, but I would love to hear some thoughts from Benjamin. What's his take on like employer branding?
So I've done a couple of research on this too, because I mean, as an employer myself, I had to think this through. And when you also read books about recruitment, especially Talent Magnet, which was an amazing book, I really think you have to think about your employer brand, but you have to be careful. One thing that the book doesn't tell you, and what research doesn't tell me, is actually that it's not just about building a career page. It's not about winning the best place to work awards, which is actually still amazing. It's not also having an Instagram with meals and team pictures. This is cool, but nobody really looks at this if you look at the stats and the number of followers on those pages. So to me, it really starts at first at the job ad level. You have to list benefits, but more than that is where do most engineers want to go and work for? Mostly, if you tell them ThoughtWorks, they will be very excited. Designers, you tell them about WPP, they will be quite excited. Why is that so? Is because they look for excellence, and excellence comes from people. So if you cannot get the right experience as candidates and also as an employee, and you don't care properly about your candidates and employee, then they will end up leaving, and you will lose all the talents. And that's actually the talent who over time, by their achievements and the reputation that they have around them, will attract talent. And I would say more than a career page, which you have to have. But still, like, don't neglect this and think that this can be a hack where you'll just have a checklist and you'll check career page, Instagram, outreach, events, and so on. This is all good, but I think the core of why a brand is powerful, I mean, in the view of a candidate, is that reputation that people working there get, and interaction with customers, partners. It's a small industry. If you look at, for example, at tech, when I used to work for one of the largest fintech clients in Singapore back in the days, I interacted with 10 plus different vendors. And I can tell you now, I can list the list of vendors that are amazing and I'd like to work again with. And even though they are not super big, they have a reputation in the industry now. And I think that's something that people, tell each other, refer each other to those jobs. And that's where the actual strength of the team will come from.
Beautiful, really deep, and thank you for sharing that, Benjamin. There's one more question coming in. It is a long one. So, I believe that in order to somehow address the talent crunch happening globally, recruiters should devote more time, resources, and consideration into screening instead of screening out candidates. The decision makers, however, are putting more merit on candidates' experience than on their potentials. Wow. What tools can you recommend to advance this shift from making recruitment too patterned and making it more agile?
That's true, Luz. We need to invest more in recruitment as a whole, more time, more efforts, and it has to reach out to leadership teams and also to technical teams. There's a field that's kind of growing now in large companies called recruitment ops, and that's normal. That's something that we see also in design ops, development, DevOps, and basically it is trying to take care of the entire chain of value of recruitment. And this is where we all sit around the table. We have management, we have technical representatives, we have enablers and influencers in the company. And we understand that the talent crunch is there and we have to do something about it. Now, if we have the problem of merits on the candidate experience rather than their potential, this is true and this is a bias. This is a bias that a lot of people have, because when we talk about recruitment, we're actually talking about one thing: it's building trust. If you have built trust to a sufficient level to convince everyone, then the person is hired. And some hiring managers build trust in things that they know, and they will think, okay, this is someone that has done the same job in that big company. I know what I'm getting. I can trust that because I know that company has done the vetting. But if we have a proper assessment process, and I'm sorry, I'm not a sponsor of Testlify here, but we're talking about software like Testlify that can have a battery of assessment and tests that are defined together in a company with the leaders. Then we can actually give trust back by saying that this candidate actually did pretty well, better than that candidate who had the experience. And then you start judging the person not on potential, which is hard to measure and hard to trust, but you judge them on the actual assessment. And of course, this is all human relations, so there's no formula. There's still a hiring committee, but at least in terms of culture in the company, it would be great if people could sit around the table and say, the talent crunch is here. We have to step up our recruitment game, and we have to know how to build trust as fast and as good as possible in the recruitment process.
So, when you're hiring at scale, it's like, very crucial in terms of like screening. Although technology can help you, but at the end of the day, there's someone sitting behind the desk actually screening out candidates, checking out LinkedIn profiles. Is there a way, like, HR can save time here in terms of screening those candidates and actually finding the right one?
I think so. I mean, that's also where Whire is standing. This is how can we pick a better sourcing channel that has properties of delivering higher trust. And the first thing of a trusted referral, let's say from an employee, let's say you have a developer that is referring another developer in your company. you kind of like have not a lot of pre-screening to do at this stage. Like you're into ask your admin stuff, your visa, all those pre-screening questions are there. But in terms of can the person do the job, you kind of have a high trust that they can because you have an employee's reputation and you trust that employee. So it's
Yeah.
really all a game of trust. And to me, we can do something at scale. At scale, it means, and I've seen some questions in the chat also of talking about we don't have enough candidates. Sometimes that's our biggest problem. So we really have both problems to think about. On one hand, I have not enough, and on the other hand, I have too many candidates, right? And this is a problem based on your organization and your budget and the way we are hiring. I'm talking about a new sourcing channel here, which some of you probably have heard of because it's not really new. It's called external referral. And this is something that has failed for years and years on because a lot of recruiters and companies post on their LinkedIn page and say there's a bounty program. If you can find a developer for us, hey, here it is. We'll give you $1,000 or $500. And this is kind of good, but they are missing one key part. More than one, but at least one. They're missing the community. Who is
Mm-hmm.
actually watching and listening to that? Are they actually the experts that they will trust, or are they just random people looking for money, or is it at worst maybe no one because no one really sees that message? So to me, the
Yeah.
sourcing channel that will be the most efficient, ideally in a dream world, right, would be one where we can broadcast to a community of trusted individuals that will refer to us people they trust also and they know well, and they have already assessed through maybe years of relationships, and that could do the job. And I think that's where we should start if we can, so that we don't have to screen people that are just creating busy work for us, but are not necessarily serious about the job or don't have the right qualifications in the end. So we have to kind of start with a better quality of candidates at the start of the process when we start screening, and then we'll have less work. We'll have more meaningful screening in the end.
So let's say, like, we discussed a lot until now, and like I want to just ask if how can, like, let's say a recruiter who are listening here, they might be doing a lot of stuff, or they not might be doing like things what we mentioned, how they can, like, step by step in like 5 different steps that they can take today to optimize their hiring process.
Well, it really depends where you are today, but I would say to a startup, for example, that starts and has just getting started hiring a lot of people, and they don't have a process, they don't have tools. I would say first thing you have to have is an ATS, number one thing, because you need to have a bookkeeping done through
Mm-hmm.
tech, because bookkeeping is not a value added piece of work that you need to do. You need to remove all the busy work and all the repetitive tasks out of your schedule. Number one. Number two, you need to discuss about recruitment strategy. Really involve all the stakeholders in your company, and don't just go out and purchase more software after the ATS, but really think about what do we want as a candidate experience, and use design thinking approaches. You can run workshops that are very, very well prepared and time boxed, so that we don't waste anyone's time, and they can give really clear visions and deliverables out of that. So once you have the
Mm-hmm.
value chain of what roles you plan to hire, how many candidates you think you can manage to screen, and you can actually have a predictable recruitment operation backing this up. The next step after this is procurement. And a lot of things I hear on the market is that we'll procure a super good software, but we don't really use it properly. We try it one time. Maybe it's complicated to integrate. Maybe I'm not really sure if it works for every use case. And that's where we start to need maybe more like recruitment operation people who go and map out the data between the systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear a lot that Workday is completely disconnected with my ATS, and I have to retype the data or ask the candidate to retype the data. I would say start
Mm-hmm.
with modern recruitment software that has easy integrations, and that can basically make this.
Let's name some of the popular ones that you trust, Benjamin. We are not marketing anyone, but it's something that we want to help you find the right one, right? So if you
I,
want to just.
I would just mention one that is close to my heart. It's Recruitee. It's because it's a Dutch company here in the Netherlands. and they have this approach of collaborating hiring, where basically you see what all the modern experiences that we have today on like Google Sheets, Google Docs, Slack. All of this is basically real-time collaboration. We can see what everybody is doing. Everybody can see at the same look at the same data and add on to each other's data. So
And
I
the
think we
best
need
part,
this kind of
and
tool.
the best part is Recruity is Testlify's official partner. So I didn't wanted to mention, but you said it, which is good. We also like have one more partner that you can look at if you are in like they are very strong in APAC or Asia region, Groove HR. So you can check them out if you like, and you can check out our partners page on our website testlify.com. You will see more of our partners that who we trust that you can use for your hiring process.
I'll also mention one more, Pratik. It's kind of an old trend, but it's extremely relevant today. We call that global employment. Many of you probably heard that before. So global employment platforms help you hire candidates wherever they are. So I'll give you an example. You're
No,
building a team.
Benjamin. So global platform is coming. So I'm just kidding. I'm
Okay,
just
I'll not spoil it too much for everyone. So I'll just be brief, but I'll say that one of those platforms named Squad is a Singaporean-based also startup I used to be close to, and we are partnering. So Squad allows you to hire everywhere in the world, and I think part of the process that you need to have is how do I hire people, but how do I hire people I really want wherever they are, and that's the right question to ask.
and I think even better option insidea.com is coming to compete with what I'm
Lovely. And we
uh,
need competition to make the best tools,
yeah, it's like
best platforms.
everyone has like potential to actually the idea behind like global recruitment is like have a borderless or have a globalization where you can like work for anyone anywhere any
Yeah,
place you
yeah.
like. That's the whole idea. So if you are doesn't matter what platform you choose, it's all about like you building a strong team that can help you grow your business. So that's the core of what we are discussing today. Maybe like a bit more about like if you want to just before we end this, if somebody has like few questions, put down in the chat. We'll take it. When you say like modernize or scale recruitment, you want to talk about like what 2023 will look like for modernized hiring.
The landscape of how a company would look like, I'll give it to you from a candidate experience because that's the only experience we should focus on first. The company
Mm-hmm.
needs to adapt to that in 2023, so that's a big change.
I
Um,
agree.
I would say from the first engagement, from you looking for a job and you finding the dream job that you need to have a respectful and candidate-centric recruitment process. You don't ask candidates to do a lot of assessment without first acknowledging them. We mentioned that before. You assess them fairly, and then you keep them up to date as to what's happening in the recruitment process. Because too many times candidates are waiting for days, weeks to hear back, if anything. So that's something we have to end. We have tools. We can't just have any excuses to nowadays. Then we have to move on to what happens after the employee has been hired. And this is a continuous assessment, right? So we have to rethink a little bit how we assess people over time. We have to think about how we onboard them properly without throwing them into their job without any guidance. We have to
Mm-hmm.
mentor them. We have to take care of their mental and physical health. We have to give them benefits that are competitive and compelling. And I'm not talking about just increasing pay. This is one thing, but there's so many things and tools and ecosystems that exist now that add so much value. I would recommend everyone to take a look at this company called Oyster, like an oyster. They have published an open source employee guide that takes care of everything from onboarding to the end of the life cycle to how they do meetings, and you could see that technology is behind every piece of how people work in the company, and I think that's where
Wow.
human relation teams can shine is by taking the lead and showing people what it's like to work in a modern workplace.
So if you want that link, please message Benjamin and connect with him on LinkedIn. And before we end this, I want to thank you, Benjamin, uh, for coming and sharing your thoughts on scale and modernizing recruitment process for 2023. And if you want to just quickly share something about Whire and why HR should come and join Whire.
Join Whire if you'd like to explore this new referral channel that I mentioned, the external referral channel. Whire is building for you and for your companies right now in the Netherlands, the UK, Vietnam, and Singapore. We are building communities that are extremely relevant to the profiles you try to hire. Communities that build trust continuously and that will give you that element of trust you need to not have zero nor 200 candidates to review. You'll review the right profiles of candidates willing to work for you. And I'll give you a shot as well at a discount if you come to me after this meeting, because I really want to add value also to this community and to the Testlify community that we have here. And thanks again, Pratik, for organizing this. It was really lovely.
Thank you, Benjamin. If you are not connected with me on LinkedIn, feel free to send a connection request. And if you have any other questions that we didn't take today, you can message us personally and we will try to answer the best way we can. If you haven't checked out Testlify, Testlify is a talent assessment platform. We help HR almost predict who to hire smarter, right? So you can actually save 75% of your time and kind of have superpowers that you needed for actually finding the right candidate. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.